In two last night's Champions League games then, and Arsenal making that winning start and again underlined their new strength in depth. Gabriel, Martinelli and Leandro Trossard both scored after coming off the bench as Arsenal beat Athletic Club 2-0. Mikel Arteta was delighted for Martinelli, who's been criticised for some of his recent performances.
I adore Gabi, his attitude, his commitment, his positivity, what he's willing to do for the team, and I don't externally, we certainly value all the qualities that he has and he brings to the team, and I'm so happy that today he's decided again for us with 2 actions. I was sure that Gabi was going to react like that. You raise the level to Gabi and he was going to do that. He has such a mentality. He's a player that is constantly willing to learn and improve himself, very demanding with himself. And that's the moments that hopefully are going to give him the confidence again to go, because he's an outstanding player. They know that when I have to leave a player on the bench or out of the squad, it hurts me. And starting from there is the only thing I can do. It's my job. I have to make decisions, and I have to make decisions based on increasing the probability of winning football matches.
Finishers. It's a term the former England Rugby Union head coach Eddie Jones came up with to highlight the importance of his replacements. And Mikel Arteta has now adopted it to talk up the role of his substitutes. Arsenal again demonstrated their new squad depth as Gabriel, Martinelli and Leandro Trossard came off the bench to make the difference against the Athletic Club in the Champions League. Arsenal went close to scoring in the first half when Jury and Timber crossed for Viktor Gyokeres, but he headed wide. Moments later, Gyökeres and Gabriel clashed heads. The Swedish striker came off worse and needed some treatment. Athletic Club's best chance came just after the break. Alex Berenguer's effort went just wide. Gyökeres should have done better a few minutes into the second half. Mikel Arteta seemed to think so. Leandro Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli came on. Trossard set up Martinelli, who scored after 36 seconds since coming on. It's his first goal of the season. And from scoring a goal to assisting a goal, he provided Trossard's deflected shot, and it secured the 3 points for Arsenal.
The finishers, they made the impact for us to win the game, and overall very happy. The finishers are going to be more important this season sometimes than the starters, and we can change the game then, especially when with the intensity that we play, when teams start to drop off, and I'm very pleased to see that.
Good morning, Charlie Austin. Right, okay, finisher rather than substitute.
I'm not having it.
What do you make of that if you're on the bench?
I'm not having it. It's just another change of terminology that we keep going on about, really. A new word in football, finisher, coming on. Ultimately, the sub. Every sub wants to be a starter. I'm not really buying into that. Yeah, I understand he's trying to keep all the players happy and that, but no, I know for a fact as a player you'd want to be playing from the start, not being a finisher.
Is it another way of bringing some positivity around the club, though? Because it is a finisher is a much more positive term.
In what way, though, Tom? What kind of positivity? If you're playing for Arsenal and you're at the top end and you're fighting for 4 trophies, surely that's enough positivity going around the place as it is.
But the term, if a substitute suggests
but in football we know,
someone
Tom,
else is...
In football, players know if you're on the bench, you're on the bench. Whether it's you're coming on to change the game 20 minutes to go,
Is super sub not a positive term?
It's always been super sub, but now all of a sudden we're changing it and adding the finishers into football because we think we can glam it up a little bit. I'm not buying into it.
Yeah, you're not having it. Right, okay, well, someone who I know you are having is the £13 million signing of Christian Mosquera. Saliba's been out for Arsenal, and incredibly, they haven't missed him. Is he one of the bargains of the summer?
I think so, for the money they paid. It has to be. But then you look at Saliba and Gabriel as a pairing. If one of them do get injured, you need a like-for-like replacement. And since that's happened, he's come in and they've looked no different, really. I think he's been phenomenal since he's come in. And for the money, and we talk about transfer fees constantly, really, the price of players, but for 13 million, that's good business. And
he was probably brought in as a finisher rather than a starter.
No, Tom, he was brought in to help the defence. You're not making me budge on this one.
He is helping the defence right now, certainly. Right, we're always interested to get your views on Viktor Gyokeres, his progress at Arsenal. Do you like what you've seen from him so far in League and last night?
He scored a couple of goals against Forest and Leeds. I don't see anything real different against Liverpool. Didn't really happen last night. Missed a couple of chances. I think he's got to be putting one of them away. 2 headers inside the 6-yard box, and I think Mikel Arteta showing his frustration there, that not just because it was Viktor Gyokeres who missed a chance, but I think it was a big chance in the game.
Right, got some quotes here from the Athletic Club head coach Ernesto Valverde. He had an interesting observation. He said this: if Arsenal played in La Liga, they'd be winning 10 titles in a row. In Spain, winning comes from defence, and Arsenal have the best backline in Europe right now. Okay, so Ernesto Valverde knows his stuff, and I think it's praise for Arsenal, unless he's trying to say that they're anti-football and too defensive, which I doubt he is. But I briefly asked you at the top, but surely Arsenal have to deliver now if they've got the best defence in Europe.
They have to deliver. Like, they're going for four competitions. They have to deliver. They're crying out for a centre forward that everyone spoke about for the last 2 years, etc. Get one, and now we're going, no, they've got the best defence, and now they need to get over the line. Nothing's changed. Arsenal need to win something big this year, otherwise it's time up for the manager.
Right, OK, well, let's get the
fan
perspective. Well, I know, in fact, a lot of the Arsenal fans we've spoken to have said that. Let's get the perspective of another Arsenal fan right now, because Sky Sports are partnered with Finalysis, an app where passionate fans share their opinions on their club. If you want to represent your club, you can go to the Sky Sports app. You can see there that Arsenal supporter Tia Thorne is there. Good morning to you, Tia. What did you make of Arteta describing Martinelli and Trossard as finishers?
Good morning. Yeah, I think he's probably bang on the money. I think everyone at Arsenal and fans will probably say that Trossard has been our best finisher since he's been at the club. I think he's always a clutch player. If Arsenal ever need a goal, I always think that you can rely on Trossard. Martinelli, again, I think his best position is probably through the middle when he's got space around him. I don't think when Martinelli plays on the left, he's played on the left to allow Saka to have the freedom and everyone around him to make the run. So you could argue, he's put out there to sort of have to help Arsenal, but he's limited. But whenever Martinelli's in that centre-forward position, he scores. He scored a similar goal against Real Madrid in the Champions League. I think he scored a goal against Brentford at the start of the year, and he was in a centre-forward position. So I think he's right. And I think also probably Mikel Merino is probably one of the best finishers of the club too, which considering, he was brought in as a middle, but every time he's been up top, I think his finishing is top.
It sounds like you are quite happy with the squad depth at the moment. We mentioned Martinelli and Trossard. Charlie and I were talking about Mosquera as well. It looks like when a player is brought into the side, they are performing, which shows exactly how strong the squad is.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think a positive that we haven't had in a while at Arsenal is that players they're comfortable in their position. They know that they're going to start week in, week out, whether or not they have a bad game or not. And now you've got players that are constantly playing for their position. I heard you guys talk about Mosquera earlier, and you could argue Saliba doesn't walk straight back in. And a year ago, 2 years ago, if someone would say to me, well, Arsenal are going to be fine without Saliba, I wouldn't believe you. We've seen plenty of times, the 22-23 season, he got injured and Arsenal sort of fell off at the back, and it wasn't, the title went away, got knocked out of the Europa League at the time, and it all sort of went wrong when he got injured. Whereas now we're looking at a squad depth where there's no Saka, no Havertz, no Saliba. Odegaard went off injured at the weekend, and we're okay, we're doing fine. Not much play has been disrupted from these players coming in.
So, Tia, the pressure's on for Mikel Arteta to deliver something big, not a League Cup, FA Cup, something big.
I absolutely agree. I think I'm not going to turn my nose up at a League Cup or an FA Cup. I think for a team,
is that enough for a team like Arsenal that's got? Hear me out. A team like Arsenal that's got enough now. The squad depth is there. They've got like-for-like replacements. Like you say, if someone's injured or suspended, say someone comes in, we're seeing that with Mosquera now. All of a sudden, the pressure is really on. Looking at it, I don't think a domestic trophy in the cup competitions is enough for him.
I get what you mean, and I know that a lot of people, I do agree, he needs to probably be one of the big two. 100% agree, but we're not in a position to turn our noses up at a domestic cup. I'm not saying it's enough, but it gives Arteta more time. And we're talking about a team that's arguably only won a Community Shield, and some of them weren't even here when we won it, if you want to count that as a cup. So I think getting them winning something, even if it's a Carabao Cup, you have to look at as a positive. We can't just win a Carabao Cup. We need to get a good league position. We need to get further in the Champions League. If we get knocked out in the round of 16, we get fourth in the Premier League, and we only get Carabao Cup, you could argue and look, that's not enough. But if we end up getting, say, second or third in the league again, far in the Champions League, semi-final again, maybe even the final, I wouldn't say it's a bad season. I think it then gives the team the hunger to win more, I get the expectations.
But the questions will still come up.
It.
Sorry to bone there, but the questions will still come up, won't they? Can this manager take you to the next level? So it's like saying we'll get to the Champions League or a better position in the league, but can this manager really take you over the line to lift the trophy?
Well, massively, and I get that, but he can't show that he's experienced winning trophies if he's not won one before. If he wins a Carabao Cup, I know they're two completely different kettles of fish. With a Champions League and a Premier League, I know they are completely different to your FA Cups and your Carabao Cups. But knowing that he can do the knockout football, he can do, keep it going for a long period of time, then he has no excuse to not win. And a lot of people have said to Arsenal fans, how do you know that Mikel's the manager to win something? And you can go, well, I don't know, because he hasn't won anything. Again, as I said, I know they're different kettles of fish with the domestic cups.
Do you think he's the right man?
Now let's get to former Arsenal striker Alan Smith joins us live to talk all things Champions League. Great to see you, Alan. It was an impressive win away for Arsenal, wasn't it, in Spain? Both subs scoring. We're hearing a lot about strength in depth, aren't we? Was that a good example of strength in depth for Arsenal?
It most certainly was, yeah. I mean, you think of the two goal scorers, Martinelli and Trossard, and these are lads now just on the fringes, I think, of the starting 11. Martinelli was a fixture for a good number of years. His form's tailed off a bit. But, yeah, it's amazing what more players coming into that dressing room can do. You think of Eberechi as somebody that's going to play on the left, it looks like, more often than not. And that can give the player that's been ousted a huge boost. And from Arteta's point of view, you're going to hope that Martinelli will have that boost now. It will spur him on to try and win back his place.
I just wanted to come on to that because Arteta has really praised Martinelli's mentality, hasn't he? And you could say that the fans haven't always been convinced by him, but do you think he is going to be key to them winning silverware?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's somebody that can pop up and score a goal, as he showed there. And he's so quick, gets through a lot of work. Yes, he has lost his form a little bit. When he first came into the side a few years ago, he was an absolute revelation. He was absolutely flying, gave any fullback a torrid time. Lost his way a little bit, lost his confidence. But in a long campaign, he's going to have a big part to play, I think. And no fullback would want to see him coming on with 20 minutes remaining. And he'll start games as well. Of course he will, but it's good to see, and and I'm glad Arteta didn't give up on him. There was talk of him leaving the club in the summer, but he's a valuable squad member.
Thierry Henry's been saying, Arsenal have to win a trophy this season. How much pressure is on Arteta to do just that?
I think he's well aware of the pressure. So much talk pre-season, especially when the new players came in saying, he's got no excuse now. Listen, they could have a fantastic season and still end up trophyless because, it all depends on what the opposition does. But they've got the tools there. There's no question of that. We talk about strength in depth. He's got it in abundance. You saw Mascara replacing Saliba at the weekend against Nottingham Forest and doing really well. So he can afford, to have the injuries that he did suffer last season, and he's in a much better position to be able to cope. They did suffer when they lost the likes of Saka last year. And Saka's another one, really, Bella, in terms of he's playing week in, week out previous seasons, and sometimes you thought, we need to rest. Give him a rest. And when they did, on the rare occasions they did, Arsenal weren't the same. But now, with Madueke, they've got a viable alternative there, and that should help Saka's game as well.
Right, speaking of rest, Arsenal have got Manchester City next, live on Super Sunday. Arsenal are going to have had 2 days extra rest because City are playing on Thursday. How much of a factor will that be, do you think?
It can be a big one, physically. Pep Guardiola will already be thinking of, how the team he's going to pick on Thursday and the team he's going to pick on Sunday. Those 2 days, it's quite a lot, isn't it? So from Arteta's point of view, he'll be pleased with that. And Arsenal have shown that they can beat City at the Emirates, and I think they need to do it again following that disappointment at Liverpool. But yeah, those 2 extra days, they don't always count. They don't always make the difference, but physically, it is an advantage.
Let's come on to